The original content of this summary belongs to the Ahmad Mahmood Show. You can check out the original podcast and the channel in the links below.
Bro, your tips went viral, and since then, I don't know, how many billions of views did you say it got? You've got in the last year?
2023, 1.35 billion views, 9 million followers across all channels, third fastest growing creator on the entrepreneurial side of all time.
Those watching right now, they want to make money. Top 5 coins to get into. Let's get right into it.
I mean, let's get right into it. Let's first talk about what the last year of crypto's been. We start with the Bitcoin ETF. It gets approved. BlackRock, as we know, has come into the game, and they come in super strong. They understand legality. They understand the frameworks of the law. They're never going to lose. They have every politician, every government official in their pockets. They understand how the game is played, and now they're coming into Bitcoin. You see Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock, now become an apologist and an evangelist for Bitcoin, which is not only surprising, but it's very exciting for everybody that's been in crypto since early on. I've been in crypto since 2016. I started buying my first Bitcoin at $588 when I was a little bit of a brokey. And ever since then, it's matured from being a gambling coin to really being a store of value and being a hedge against bad policy of the US government. I would think right now we're looking at an ETH ETF, which I think we have the potentiality of ETH exploding and going past $10,000. I think it's an extremely good play.
ETH, all right, that's one.
We have the Telegram Open Network, which is TON. You see Pavel Durov, who's the CEO of Telegram. He's come back on the scene.
Multi-billionaire, lives in Dubai, right?
Yeah, and he's one of the few people who's actually gotten citizenship, which is absolutely crazy. So when I look at crypto, I always bet on winners, winning people. I like betting on winning teams, not on speculation. So you have TON, Telegram Open Network. You have obviously ETH. I think it's going to go past $10,000. You don't want to be speculating. You want to be investing into things that are doing well and people that have winning teams.
But do you think Solana might flip ETH?
If it does or doesn't, I don't really know. And yes, there may be a lot of movement when it comes to retail and stuff like that. But I think as well, we see a $500 Solana this bull run, which is really good right now. I think we've been talking about Solana since $30, and the bear market's going to do extremely well. I've been talking about TON since $2 billion market cap. I mentioned it in the Bayaheza podcast. Right now it's at a $25 billion market cap. So people that watched that video, they could have easily done a 10x on their portfolio on that specific play.
So they need to listen to the ones you mentioned now.
And we have two other coins that I think are going to do extremely well. They're not out yet. The first one is Monad, which is a layer one competing on the EVM, which is the Ethereum virtual machine. It's run by Exchange Street.
How does the ticker symbol Monad?
So Monad, it's not out yet.
How do you spell it?
MONAD.
MONAD, okay.
And then the final one, we'll leave it in the comment section for people to scout for it. I think it'll be good.
This is, you see, Luke, he knows how to play with the algorithms, man. This is how he's gotten that 1 billion views. He knows how to play with the algorithm.
I think today there's massive levels of opportunity. The first one is the crypto space. I think the crypto space is a massive asymmetrical bet over the next couple of years. You see hundreds of projects emerge every single month, but they lack marketing. They lack understanding of social media. I mean, you run a massive agency with hundreds and hundreds of influencers inside of your network. Anybody can just call you, and a couple calls that you make, you can give them access to the best in the world. You couldn't do that if social media didn't exist. You've been able to build a massive network because of that. Just like that, I've been able to monetize my personal brand. My personal brand is like a digital resume. So whether you create content or whether you have a phenomenal brand that happens to be on the internet, people are always looking. And what I love about the internet is that people talk about the internet as a fad, but in reality, where do we spend most of our time? We spend most of the time on our phone and on social media. So instead of trying to bring people into somewhere where they're not, I go to where they are, and that is the internet. So I think building a personal brand or having your company on the internet is phenomenal. Let's say you have a regular business, plumbing business, you're an electrician, you're a car salesman, you should have a social presence. It doesn't mean you have to be making podcasting content every single day, but why aren't you going to go where people are? If you have a business and you're not on Google, what are you doing? If you have a business, you have a website, but you have no Google SEO, why don't you? People are going to look for answers on the internet. You have to be the first one to show up. And that's why I think building any sort of awareness on the internet is a zero-sum game where you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. I think I am the personification of the potential that everybody has.
That's a good way to put it. And the way you say that, because this was excellently put, leads to my next question. which is how have you managed to be so articulate? Because I've noticed, and when you talk, there's certain things you do. I've seen you do the hand signal, brother, and the way you speak, it's very clear. Your pronunciation, your vocabulary, your vernacular, it's always on form. How have you managed to stay so articulate? Is there anything you do, any practices that someone watching this can watch to become more articulate?
I read out loud. That's a phenomenal practice. So whenever you're reading, whether it's an article, whether it's a book, it may sound weird in the beginning because it feels like you're just like chanting to yourself in a room, but you begin to read and you begin to develop the skill of articulation. When it comes to communication, it's not about what you have to say. It's about, does the other person understand the message that you're trying to convey? That's the premise of communication. But before communicating, you need to understand how to develop your frame of thought and know how to think. Most people don't know how to think. That's why they don't have anything to say. Any person that wants to be a master must be willing to be a fool at first. And most people just are not willing to be a fool. They're not willing to be ridiculed. They're not willing to be seen as somebody that is still in the process of development. And I'm okay with being ridiculed and laughed at because at the end of the day, I'm just another guy. We just end up dying. We end up in the grave. So who really cares what somebody else has to say?
What would be your favorite book?
I have two that I would recommend on a daily basis that people read. One is the book of Proverbs, which is written by King Solomon. It's 31 chapters. You read one chapter a day. It has a couple verses. And they're fundamental truths and values and wisdom that applies to anybody regardless of religion, race, whether you're an atheist, agnostic, believer in God, believer in Jesus Christ, Muhammad, the Buddha. It doesn't really make a difference. It's fundamentally sound wisdom. And it's very short. The second one is a book by an ancient samurai known as Miyamoto Musashi. He wrote a book by the name of The Five Rings, and he wrote it in a cave a couple weeks before he died, where he expresses the art of war and the art of being a samurai, but he does it in a very poetic way that translates into simple values. One of them, I tweeted about it today, says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. And that quote basically is the concept of, if you want to go far, you need to be able to get started. And it's that initial step, and it's that second step and third step that when you look back, when it's all said and done, you've been able to walk a course of miles that, had you not taken that first step, would have never taken place. So the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, phenomenal read on a daily basis. And the second one is the Book of Proverbs by King Solomon. The average age right now that ranges for my content is anywhere from 26 to 38, which is a lot older than you would presume, which is closer to my age in our demographic. I think the biggest issue that I see is comparison. The internet is a great place of opportunity, but it's also a great place of deception, where people compare themselves to something that they're not.
I suffer with this.
And we all do. And they begin to compare themselves. And comparison is the killer of joy. It's the thief of joy, because you're no longer present. You want to be what somebody else is, and you imagine an elusive reality of what somebody else is experiencing, and you think that that other person has all the answers, when in fact, they probably don't. Just because somebody lives in a lavish big home or drives a Bentley or has a phenomenal watch on their wrist doesn't mean they have life figured out. Maybe they have a couple assets, maybe they have money, but if money is all you have, then you don't have much. And I think that social media has done a terrible job at making people realize that this material thing that we live in, this material possessions that we can acquire, is the end all of happiness, and that you're supposed to have a Lamborghini when you're 18 or 19, and if you're not, you're a loser. I was listening to an interview that Pavel Durov from Telegram did recently. He said, I've never bought a supercar. I don't have super yachts. I live in Airbnbs. I just want freedom. And I'm like, okay, this guy that's a multi-billionaire, been buying Bitcoin over the last 10 years, understands the fundamental premise of, I don't want things to own me, right? I want to own things. I don't want these things to own me. So understands how to manage his materialistic desires. But in social media, I think it's very easy to see somebody else's life and think that they have it all figured out, when in reality, we're all still trying to figure it out. Look for those content creators that aren't here to sell you a lifestyle, but that want to empower you with becoming the best version of yourself. First is understand that, like you said, people on social media, they just reflect the best aspects of themselves. And that's what social media is for. It should be for business. It shouldn't be there for, when people talk about drama and when people are out here talking about people's personal information. I don't like that. That's gross. I think the internet is about business. I think it's just a vehicle and a channel to materialize things into the real world. And I think that this is what matters, relationships. Like, fuck the cameras, you know, like, we're going to dinner after this, we're going to have a good time. That's what matters. But had it not been through the internet, we would have never been able to do it together.
We would have never met.
We had the meetup. There was 1,600 people that showed up. 1,600 people in Dubai. I live on the other side of the world. I live in the Caribbean. 1,600 people in Dubai. What matters is the experiences, the hands that you shake, the stories that you listen to. Why do you use social media? Are you a consumer or are you a producer? I use the internet to make money. I use the internet to build community. I use the internet to find connections and relationships. I'm not out here doom scrolling on TikTok, wondering what Kim Kardashian and Lady Gaga are doing on their free time in the Frappuccino that some other bullshit influencers cooking up. I don't care. I'm using it as a producer. And I think the people that use social media as a consumer are the ones that end up being very, very unhappy.
I noticed the watch you're wearing right now, Richard Mille. I just noticed it. Did you buy this recently?
Picked it up in Dubai, tax-free place to pick up some
Just
luxury
this trip?
pieces. Yeah, just bought it from a watch dealer named Aladdin, a very good buddy of mine. So
Oh, nice.
just picked it up. Nice little
Congratulations.
67-2 Qatar edition in honor of Messi, because he won the World Cup in Qatar. So shout out to my boy.
Would you rather be broke but very happy, or would you rather be rich but only slightly happy?
Rich but slightly happy. Because happiness is not something that I'm chasing. I think happiness is just an emotion. I think that the people that choose to chase happiness will always end up disappointed, because life is about experiencing a wide range of emotions. I'm not here to just be happy all the time, and people that assume that life is about being happy all the time, or that they're only going to work when they feel like working, or they're only going to, push towards their dreams when they feel like it, when they have a good mood, are the people that end up failing and end up very, very unhappy. You can't be pursuing happiness. What you need to be pursuing is the best version of yourself, and the best version of yourself is a person that pursues experiences in a wide range of emotions, which is everything that life has to offer. Anybody that tells you that life is about happiness is lying to you, because it's not about happiness. Life is about experiencing the fullness of life. And why would you neglect yourself? If you're only here one time on planet Earth, why would you neglect yourself from every potential experience that life has to offer you?
True. Sometimes I notice that when I go hard on myself, it can tend to bring the best out of me. Would you say that 100% of the time that love is more of a stronger force than, for example, if I was to get upset at myself? Would it be better to be like nice with myself and be like, come on, bro, you can do it? Or would it be like, you fucked up, you messed up, you shot the bed, do better next time? Because sometimes there's something called tough love, which helps you as well. What do you say is a stronger force for improving yourself?
I think the highest form of self-improvement or the highest form of pursuit shouldn't be out of love or shouldn't be out of hate, should be off of authenticity. I was talking with one of my buddies, Gary Breck, a popular biohacker, and he was researching a study that had taken place about 15 to 20 years called SPAIN, which is the scale of positive and negative emotion, whereby they put patients into a room, prompted them with different actions, and evaluated their vibrational frequency based off of different behaviors and different moods and different emotions that they were evoking. And they realized that the highest form of vibrational frequency that somebody could tap into wasn't the vibrational frequency of love, which is what we assume was the highest form of vibrational frequency, but it was the vibrational frequency of authenticity, being the truest version of yourself. So I think, yes, there is a place whereby you have to be hard on yourself and challenge yourself and discipline yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't have the physique that you want. Yes, be authentic with yourself and realize that there's a better version of yourself out there. If you're not eating good food, be hard on yourself and be like, hey, you're cheating yourself from a healthy habit. If you're out here sleeping around with women, if you're out here, fucking around, if you're out here doing drugs, if you're wasting your time, be hard on yourself, because that's not the best version of yourself. But do it understanding that the most authentic version of yourself is out there and it's not this current form.
Quickly go back to crypto for a second, because you mentioned a few good coins. I wanted to ask you, any shit coins that you think might blow up this?
I tweeted about this, and I think it's important. I said the reason why meme coins work is because there's no complex tech, no bullshit narrative. It's just community and hype. That's it. So when you're looking for meme coins, when you're looking for these 100Xs, when you're looking for these 1,000Xs, which are out there and people have identified trends, look for high quality community, understand that the team that owns the token, they need to be able to hold a certain level of the supply. If the supply is not well managed, which needs to be distributed to exchanges, if they end up getting listed, they need to have that in their reserve. If you have no tokens and you're part of the team, what type of incentive do you have for the price to go up? You don't, right? It's just very simple. And then finally, it needs to be on trend and on narrative. You have the ones like Brett, for example, on base that is doing extremely well. Whiff on Solana, just all over the place. But like I said, look for something that has diversified supply where the team holds a certain level of supply that then they can distribute to exchanges, and they need to be on hype and on trend. But like everything else, meme coins just have a cycle within the bull run. And after that's said and done, it'll rotate to other things, whether it's AI, whether it's GameFi, whether it's whatever it may be. There's always a cycle within its narrative.
Then the question would be, your portfolio, your crypto portfolio, how does it look like right now? Let's say percentage-wise.
Right now, I'm very big on ETH.
So
very
ETH
big.
is how much percent? Roughly.
25%.
25% ETH?
Probably 25% meme coins.
Okay.
I got my degeneracy as well. I've probably about 25% AI coins. Not all of them are going to play out.
AI coins, what are some good AI coins?
I'm not going to mention AI coins specifically because I don't know how they're going to perform. A lot of them are what we call vaporware, right? They talk about the tech, but once again, we're running on the coattails and off of the success of NVIDIA. So off of that, the narrative is playing off. And then the other ones are diversified in different DeFi projects and people that are companies or projects that are actually building, the likes of Jupiter. I think I have about $5 million of Jupiter at 60 cents. It's at $1.20 right now.
Wow.
It's doing well. So these are like real projects with real communities. And yeah, it's pretty good.
What's a day in your life look like for you right now in this moment?
In the morning, very simple routine. Go out, do some grounding, go to the pull-up bar, do some stretching, do some pull-ups. And then first thing in the morning by 9 a.m., get on calls with teams. Inside Capital Club, I'm not the CEO. People may not know that, but I have a business partner named Steve Tan. OG e-commerce guy since 2006, been selling on eBay before e-commerce was popular. So I just focus on creating content, focus on pushing the narrative forward on social media. And that's pretty much what my day looks like. It's pretty standard, like a normal person, you'd be surprised. It's very much taking meetings, aligning the team's mission, vision, and values towards Capital Club, making investment decisions, closing deals. But that's about 3-4 months out of the year. I do a lot of traveling, probably 7 to 8 months out of the year. I like to be moving around the world.
Work or leisure? Work or leisure, the traveling? Both.
Work. Everything's work. There's no day off when it comes to business.
But work is play for you.
Yeah, I mean, you can get to the place where you can position yourself if you have the right team and if you have the right people, and you got to pay them well.
Yeah.
My biggest weakness is I'm reactive.
Okay.
So as somebody that likes to create things out of spontaneity, being reactive is, I think, both a strength and a weakness. I think being proactive is the best way to run a business when you're able to foresee situations, problems, and plan and prepare accordingly. That's why I have a CEO. That's why I have an operational team that does that on my behalf. But my biggest weakness is my reactiveness. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely something that needs to be harnessed and needs to be managed effectively.
What is something, we talked a bit about parents earlier, what is something that your parents did in your life that you loved? And what is something they did maybe when you were growing up that you hated, or maybe hate's a strong word, but you didn't like?
You know, when I think about my parents, as much as you can mention like flaws that people have done or things that you don't like, at the end of the day, you just look at the byproduct, you know? You look at the byproduct. And so like I look at my brothers, I look at myself, and the byproduct is good. You know, we could have easily gone down a different route, but the values instilled in us, the principles on how to live a good life were there. So instead of looking at the negatives, I look at the positives, and I look at the outcome of my life. You know, and it's obviously you have to make decisions yourself, but as you're growing up, you don't make decisions. Decisions are made for you that dictate your life path. Today, I'm probably one of the best speakers in the world. Why? It's my second language, it's not my first language, because my parents took me through an educational process that allowed me to do that. But like I said before, you know, you just look at the byproduct, and the byproduct I think is quite good, and I'm pretty happy with the work that they've done. And once again, my dad, for example, he didn't grow up with a father. He just my grandmother was a hardworking baker. She was a baker. Wow. as a profession. And she would sleep behind the stand in the bakery. And just in the morning, she would wake up and she would make the bread. And my dad would help But my dad never had a role model what it meant to be a father. But he became a good one, right? Through iteration, three dudes, right? My older brother, my younger brother, myself, and through consistency.
Relationship with him is solid.
Yeah, I have a good relationship with my family altogether. We don't agree on everything. That building an online presence is definitely something that you have to kind of protect your family and protect your relationships and things like that. And those that don't like to be on the internet, it's totally fine. I respect it.
Yeah. What about your relationship? And you did that. You have a 10-year relationship. So first of all, that's crazy. And I know the story because I've met your girl. In fact, she's sitting right there. And what do you think about this new culture nowadays where these entrepreneurs or these like red pill, like they want to have like 4 or 5 girls?
I mean, everybody can live their own life. At the end of the day, the more people that you share a bed with, you give them a piece of your soul, whether you like to or not. You give them a piece of your memories. You give them a piece of yourself. So you just have to be very careful who you decide to spend your time with. And at the end of the day, like I said, I reward and I enjoy being with people, and hopefully they do too, where loyalty and longevity are pillars of a relationship. So my girl used to drive me to work. I used to toss wings and work in the kitchen. She would drive me to work when I didn't have a car. So hopefully now we're able to build something together that's a dope life. And it would make no sense whatsoever, and it wouldn't be very good of me to neglect all of that sacrifice that's been done. So we're building dope stuff together. At the end of the day, relationships matter more than anything. I could be under a bridge and I know she'd be next to me, and I could be sitting in a palace with the best of the kings, and she would be right next to me. How do you go into a relationship? Do you go into the relationship to satisfy yourself, or do you go into the relationship for the better of the other person? When you go into a relationship, at least my perspective was to bring the best version out of the other person. Not, does this person satisfy my sexual desires and my sexual needs all the time whenever I want to? And if the answer is no, let me go find another person that does that.
Yeah.
And I know there's people that can't keep their dick in their pants. Like, I have self-control. I've understood the art of managing my sexual emotions, and understood that it's not the end-all be-all. And if all you do is fuck around all day, eventually it'll catch up to you.
Something that you used to enjoy doing, but now you hate doing it.
Fast food. I used to love fast food. Chick-fil-A.
Really?
Sweet tea. Wedge fries. But I was almost 200 pounds once. And then,
really?
Yeah, I was almost 200 pounds. And then I had a transcendental experience that led me to realize that I was harming my body. Ever since then, I haven't touched processed, food, haven't touched junk food, and really focus on, it would be like 4 p.m. and I would feel tired and slow and lethargic.
Sluggish.
I would have bags under my eyes, and I would have to take energy drinks all day just to be able to make it through the day before I crashed. And then I changed my diet, fundamentally, radically changed my diet. I went through an 8-month raw vegan diet. I'm no longer a vegan. It was just a process of cleansing. And I was like, whoa, like I feel good. I feel energized. Maybe the food is poisoning me. Maybe the food that I'm consuming is there to keep me enslaved, keep me weak, keep me in a low vibrational frequency. And when I realized that, I changed my diet and my life changed. I developed a better physique. I had more energy. I was happier. My mood wasn't as aggressive. And that's something that I used to enjoy, but I used to think that it was something that was neutral and, oh, let me just enjoy it. Let me just go eat some McDonald's. Let me go eat some Burger King. Let me go to the grocery store at 12 p.m. at night, or at the gas station, and let me go buy all this junk food and this candy. And then when I stopped doing it, I realized that I had cravings for it. And I was like, whoa, this isn't something that I enjoy doing. This is an addiction.
Tap water.
Stay away from tap water, stay away from fluoride. Stay away from things that calcify your pineal gland. For those that understand what that means, you can tap into that wisdom and that knowledge, and understand that back in the day, society, or kings, monarchs, just like they do today, they utilize food as a medium of control to keep people weak and to keep people enslaved. If you have a society, you want to enslave them, you're going to keep them with the lowest form of food. You're going to keep them with the lowest form of water, and you're going to make sure that they're poisoned. They're just NPCs operating at their lowest potential form. But if you want to thrive, you need to be able to go back to the food that is organic, clean, and designed to nurture you. It'll change your life. If you're going to do anything, if you're going to take anything from this podcast, change your diet, it'll change your life.
What do you do to set your mind free in life?
Seneca famously said, only the educated are free. Self-education, whatever that looks like for you, is the single most important ingredient to live a life of freedom. Whether you travel the world and get educated through different cultures or experience different realities, whether it's reading books, whether it's finding mentors, whether it's finding communities, the educated are the only ones that are free. I've always found that the most uneducated people are the ones that never have answers or never have hope as to how to proceed in life. And then I realized that those are also the laziest people, because education and self-education is different than being indoctrinated in the school system. People think that that's education. That's not. That's indoctrination, because you're not told how to think. You're told what to think. And if you want to be free, you need to develop the ability to think. And to think freely, you must be educated. Learn the patterns of thinking, learn logic, learn public speaking, learn history, the real history, learn mathematics, learn arithmetic, and develop the fundamental skills that are going to help you and elevate you to become a free individual in society. So once again, what makes you free, what frees your mind, is self-education at its purest and highest form. I think a really good thing that people should practice, not on a daily basis, but on a regular basis, is cold plunge. Cold plunge releases cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and you can only produce X amount of this hormone every single day. Once you've depleted that, you're able to navigate the day with a lot more of a stoic mindset. The second one is detoxing, whether you do some grounding, whether you go out in the sun, sweat a little bit, whether you exercise. I found that moving your body, mobility, and taking just care of your basic biology impacts your mood, impacts your mind a lot more than you think. If you're feeling depressed, go to the gym. If you're feeling anxious, go exercise, go do something difficult with your body, and you're going to feel this rush. You're going to feel really, really good. You're going to feel this natural high that comes from stimulating your body. I found that usually the people that are depressed that could avoid, depression, I understand certain levels of clinical depression and things of that nature, they don't exercise. They're under fluorescent lights all day. They're under high stress environments. They're living in closed environments with a ton of people, access to a lot of radiation, a lot of noise pollution, a lot of sound pollution, a lot of air pollution. You need to be able to cleanse your vessel, cleanse your environment, and it'll impact the inside, impact your mind in a very big way. It all connects. Your spirit, your spirituality connects to your mindset connects to your physique connects to your spirit. It's all in symbiosis. It all works together. If you neglect one thing, you will definitely feel the impact on the other areas of life. I do believe God knows all things and knows how all things will play out, but I still believe in freedom of will and sovereignty to make decisions on a daily basis that do impact your future.
What did you say in life? Do you have any people that you say are rivals, you find rivals? Sometimes it's good to have competition. I want to ask you, is there anyone out there that you say is a rival of yours?
No, I think I'm on my own lane.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What we're creating, who I'm trying to become, is not based off of competition, it's based off of creation. I think the vision that I have for the world, I think the vision that I have for my community, the vision that I have for myself cannot be matched by anybody, any person. Leonardo da Vinci was this crazy guy that studied he has this quote that says, to develop a complete mind, study the science of art, study the art of science, learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything else. And he was a master of philosophy, a master of mathematics, a master of the science, a master of music, a master of human anatomy, a master of painting. And my entire premise of life is to become the best version of me. I'm not here to compete with anybody. I'm here to create. And I think that allows me to operate out of a place of freedom, because I'm never looking at what somebody else is doing. I'm always looking at how can I improve myself. Because once you have, like we talked about, this concept of self-education and you know where you want to go in life, then nothing's going to stop you. Am I there yet? Far from it. But once you know where you want to go, all you have to do is follow the daily routines and the steps in the process and the ingredient list, the recipe list to get there. Today, in fact, I was at a little cafe near the Palm, and it was seven guys from Sri Lanka, And they're like, hey, like we do watch parties whenever a podcast rolls out that you make, and we sit down and we watch it together. And I was like, cool, you know what? Like I used to wait tables like you guys, and I was just like you. I was there. Like I was in the dish pit. I was cleaning the plates and the pans and the forks and the knives, and I was waiting the tables and I was taking the orders. I see myself in you. I believe in you. Like you got this. And that brings a lot of value, and it makes me realize that what we're doing is really, really good, really, really powerful, really, really meaningful. So being able to travel around the world and find fellow glitches, fellow aspiring entrepreneurs in their journey, and being able to listen to their stories, absolutely love it.
If you could speak to the 19-year-old version of yourself, what's one thing you would say?
Find a mentor that has been where you want to go.
Does that have to be like an online mentor or real life?
Any mentor.
Could be someone online?
Online, in person. Just find somebody that has something that you want or is something that you want to become, and listen to them. You don't have to pay them. You don't have to pay them $1. You don't have to, just listen to them. Take their advice. If they have the ability for you to work for them for free, do it. Who's today one of my business partners, Steve Tan. He was initially my mentor in e-commerce. I worked for him for free for a couple months. I just wanted to learn from it. I wanted access to his network. I wanted access to him. But they're not going to pay me. They're not going to pay me. I'm just in the process. They don't need me. I'm in the process of self-development. I'm trying to figure it out. For the people getting started, one is find a mentor. Somebody has gone the path that you want to go and follow them. Two is do not compare yourself to other people that are farther along the journey and assume that you're going to get there overnight. Once again, the killer of joy is comparison. You need to run away from that. And finally, you need to understand that you must be willing to sacrifice who you are today for who you want to become tomorrow. Verse in the Bible that says, when I became a man, I put away childish things. You can't become the best version of yourself unless you're willing to neglect who you are today. The bad habits, the bad friendships, the bad relationships, the bad ideas, the bad mindset. Because if you want to become a millionaire, if you want to become a person that's successful, if you want to develop a better physique, it will require sacrifice. And if you want to get to the next level, it'll cost you. There is a price to success. It hurts. Like you've had to neglect friends.
Yeah.
You've had to neglect certain comments from family members.
Yeah.
You've had to work overnight for years and years. And nobody's going to see that.
Yeah.
Nobody, but that's the price. And you will either live the price with two aspects, because you're going to pay the price regardless of life. You will pay the price of discipline and hard work, or you will pay the price of regret. And the last thing I want to live is a life of regret. When I'm sitting on my deathbed by myself, my girl won't be there, you won't be there, it'll just be me, myself, and I will have to live and deal with the consequences and the pain of, did I pursue my fullest potential, or did I settle for average and mediocre because I wasn't able to sacrifice the current version of myself for who I was able to become?
They say life is a buffet. You can have anything you want as long as you're willing to pay for it.
Because if somebody else was able to do it and they're made out of flesh and blood and bones just like you and I, so can you. Because everybody has their unique talents and skills and abilities, but you need to be able to identify what these are and understand how far can you take it? How far can you push the limits? And if you don't feel like you can, what you need to do in a very simple format is begin trying and start developing the good habits in the small ways, because how you win is by developing trust in yourself. But if you don't show up to the gym on time, if you don't eat healthy food, if you don't say no to the parties that you shouldn't be going to, if you don't say no to the toxic relationships that you know you shouldn't be in, then these are the small things that are going to build trust. And if you can do the small things well, how you do the small things is how you do the big things, and how you do small things is the impact and the cumulative of your entire life. Because life is about building blocks. It's not about one success. Whether you look at Kobe Bryant winning championships or Michael Jordan, they didn't win the championships on that court. They won it with all the repetition and the action of the small habits over an extended period of time. So if you want, like I said, if you want to become the best version of yourself, first you need to start with the small wins. The small wins, the small things that you know you can control. Once you build that confidence, it'll lead you to bigger and bigger success. I look at the billionaire and I say, I want that because that person has something that I don't. Well, what is it that they have? 12 Rolls Royce in the parking lot, but I can only sit in one at a time. 18 houses, but I can only sleep in one bed at a time.
Yeah.
So are these things that I've just bought into that equal success, or am I missing something deeper? And today I've found that I don't need anything. I don't need anything. As long as I have my health, as long as I have access to the basic needs taken care of, then I'm never going to position myself in a place whereby I'm consuming at such a high level that I end up affecting my level of happiness and I affect my level of equanimity, which is the most important thing you can have. Equanimity is calmness of the soul. And I've said this once and I'll say it again. The wealthiest person is the one that wakes up with the least pressure on their chest. The one that wakes up and is like, I live a good life. You don't need a lot for that. You don't need a lot for that. Now, if you spend all day on social media and look at what everybody else has and you assume that that's what you need in order to be successful, then you're going to be mind fucked.
If you had a crystal ball in front of you and you could ask it any question to learn anything, any one truth, it could be a truth about your future. You know, you could say, when will my parents die? So you could plan for it. What question would you ask this crystal ball?
Why are we here? Why the fuck did we spawn into this reality?
What's the purpose of life?
Why did we gain some consciousness? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? I want to get to the point in life where I have enough and the business is doing well where I can focus on finding these truths.
Are you afraid of death? Like, do you feel like you're afraid of it?
No, I mean, it's like being afraid of the dark. You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're afraid of something you don't know. Maybe there's something better after death.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
All right. If you could change anything about your life right now, is there anything that you would change?
The areas that I'll change are probably get more shredded, 100%.
Yeah.
I think I definitely gotta level up on the
You're
on
like
the anime
like a
shreds.
brother.
Go back into the biohacking lab with Nate, and then make my endeavors with Capital Club more fruitful. You know, we currently have tens of thousands of members. I would like to have 1 million members inside Capital Club as entrepreneurs that are inside of my network. It'll take me a couple of years to get there, but I definitely see that there's a lot of work to be done. It's my brainchild, and I want to work on it. But yeah, I'm going to get shredded and continue building the biggest entrepreneur network in the world. Currently, we have one of the largest ones, but I'm just getting started.
Yeah. How much do you pay in taxes? Like, how much?
Well, I live in
percent?
Puerto Rico, so only 4%, and then capital gains is 0. So I'm there because I do well in business, and it only makes sense.
So if you're a citizen living in another country, you only pay income tax, or what's the?
No, you pay income tax, capital gains tax. The U.S. tax follows you anywhere that you go.
So how come you're safe from that in Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico is the only exception.
Oh, really?
It's the only exception for Americans. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I moved there in 2020, I believe. During the last bull run to capitalize on the gains there. I did well, so I had to make sure that the government didn't take my money and send it to Israel to bomb poor
Israel.
Palestinian kids.
Israel and Palestine. What do you think about the war that's going on right now with Israel and Palestine? Obviously, Iran is also getting involved now.
I mean, without going insanely deep into it, anybody that's funding the bombing of children and innocent lives for any reason, and what looks like ethnic cleansing or the destruction of a society is immoral. And anybody that's turning a blind eye to it would have most likely turned a blind eye during World War I and World War II. All these people that are pointing fingers at the people that didn't stop those wars are the ones that are keeping silent now. So once again, I'm not in that part of the world. I can't understand the pain, the suffering. I can't resonate with it. But I don't want my tax dollars going into the war machine. Hence one of the reasons why I moved to one of these tax places, because it's immoral to pay taxes. It's illegal to pay taxes if you actually begin to evaluate it. If you look at the IRS, it's an illegal institution. It should not exist. It was initially put forth during a temporary period, I think during World War I and World War II. It was supposed to be abolished. But the only reason wars exist at the proportion that they do, and the only reason the military-industrial complex is empowered and pushed at the pace that it is because of the US dollar. Fiat is the currency of war. Back in the day, 500,000 years ago, before fiat was introduced into the system, before this idea of central banks, you had monarchs, and monarchs would have their treasury, they would tax their people, but you could only go to war in proportion to the level of your treasury, right? So a monarch would be like, okay, do I want to invest in land? Do I want to keep my wealth? Or do I want to go to war on this guy because I'm about to lose pretty heavy duty, and maybe I lose, and if I do win, well, I only get the scraps of whatever destruction I've left. Today, I can just print dollars, fund any war, whether it's Yemen, whether it's
Iraq, Afghanistan.
whether it's Afghanistan. And it's not just the U.S. That's the crazy part. It's not just the United States. It's all over the world. happening to multiple places. And that's why I think Bitcoin is hope and freedom to society, because it keeps people away from the potential illusion of the US dollar. And got to start waking up to reality.
Thank you so much for coming, brother. It's
Thank
been
you,
a
brother.
pleasure.